Hi guys, it is 9:08 p.m. on Thursday, the 121st day I'm doing this. Here's your daily dose of hope. And I recorded a video last night, and then when I went to record just now, I realized the other one I don't think ever posted. So I still did one last night, so I'm still on track. And, you know, I woke up this morning and I found myself feeling like I should get up, you know, like at 5:30 or 6. And then I was like, what did I just talk about last night? Like body first. It's so interesting because when you have to spend so much of your life in pure survival mode, or even, like I said, the one that I believe is even lower than that. What did I call it? It wasn't panic mode, but that's kind of what it is. I can't think of what phrase I came up with for that. But what happens is then when you have a moment that you don't have to do that, your first instinct, of course, is to still do that. So that feels weird. But I reminded myself, because when I was like, well, I'm really tired, and what I heard was, well, too bad, you have to get up anyway. It's like, yes, there are many times I do, but I actually don't have to today. And remember, my biggest goal is to learn balance and rest. So if I'm going, 90 miles an hour when I don't need to, I'm just going to continually burn out or worse. Like, it's not a recipe for success. So I'm proud of myself because I kind of told myself, you're staying in bed, you're turning on a meditation. And sure enough, I think I fell back asleep, for at least a bit. So, so that's still not natural for me as my pointer automatic. But I had to just finally externalize and be like, if someone was like, oh, do you have something you have to do in the next 2 hours? It's like, no. And are you tired? I'm like, yeah. Then what's the problem? Why aren't you resting, right? So today's quote's pretty powerful. It says, stop hating yourself for everything you aren't. I'm going to say for everything you think you aren't. And start loving yourself for everything you are. Right? So I like this because, like I said, I think of us like a seedling that's coming out of a crack in the sidewalk, and it's pushing towards what it's supposed to be. So if it's a tiny little seedling and we come with our big heavy, boot and just smash it down, at the very least, we shouldn't be surprised that it's squished. So for me, the way that manifests is I will do something to relax my body naturally. I will get into a vulnerable or like a relaxed state. So then the emotion and the trauma that's been buried forever starts to come up, and then another part of me starts to panic. So I'm still working on that. But the fact that I'm talking about it is like massive progress because I'm starting to see it. So I remind myself of that. There's a lot kind of going through my mind. It's a lot, kind of like if we're using, a sky metaphor and clouds, they are not fully formed clouds yet, but they're kind of, the matter is kind of swirling and starting to combine. And I'm considering, possibly homeschooling my daughter and just at least allowing myself the right that every human has, but we can forget if we've been marginalized, to decide, to be like, what do I choose? Like, what would I like? And I remember, especially when I moved back here, and even just applying for jobs in the past and just everything in my life, I never took the time to ask myself what I actually want. So I would just apply for anything, and then I would get accepted, And then I wouldn't feel like there was no choice along the way. It was like, oh, I'm so lucky that they even want me. There was no value in me. Same thing with like everything, to be honest. And so I think, especially like looking for an apartment or something, I think that's such a great, like, practical example. So let's say you have your budget and you don't know exactly how much, like house you can afford. But you don't want to like look in an area that you don't want to live in, that isn't safe, that's like a studio, right? You don't want to start there because you're going to find that, right? You want to start with, what do I actually want? And then match that up with what you can have. Does that make sense? So this can be a very slippery slope for especially people like, survivors and stuff, is feeling like I have to take, like, how dare I, right? How dare I actually think about what I actually want? I just need to take what I'm given, But that is my mission. That's my ultimate mission, is to show you why you have the same rights as the person who has all the support in the world, You have the same rights. And it's amazing when you start thinking that way, when you start accepting that truth, because then you start to have standards of like, and I always say, like, I'll do whatever it takes, but I'm not going to purposely go down a path anymore that I know isn't good for me unless I have to, right? It's like, if there's a brick wall, I'm not going to slam my head into the brick wall again if there's a possible way to not do that, And I think I'm just realizing how much of it is mindset, but the nervous system affects the mindset, So I did some shadow work today too, and I was like, I need to reframe it where, if I know that option A is not good for me, I know that, I've experienced that, then I need to reframe it as not, now I have to find the right option. I need to be like, as long as I don't do option A, I'm still making progress. Even if I end up going in another, incorrect, direction, at least I'm not repeating the same, That actually, guys, is progress, And I think it helps free us up to, like, the opportunities that aren't there when we're so fixated on, well, I don't want to screw up again. It's like, you probably will make another mistake, right? But as long as you're not making the same exact mistake, you are growing, right? Like, so it's been an incredible week, honestly. And I definitely still feel like I'm moving so much energy because I'm like thinking differently, or I should say, I feel like I'm exercising these muscles, these mental muscles of thinking differently. So it's not that I'm automatically thinking differently, but I'm like, wait, hold on, wait, And just awareness. And I did a Zoom tonight as well, and we did a meditation, and it was about the throat chakra. And what came to me, because it was like, what is it saying to you, or something like that, and what came to me was, what would you say if you didn't have fear? I was like, whoa. Wow. And that's what I'm working on really hard, is like, I would just tell the truth then. Like, and then another one was, it was what? Well, it wasn't exactly this, but it's basically like, we're either living our fears or we're living our dreams. I was like, oh. So if action I'm taking, and procrastination can be considered an action, right? Like any choice I'm making is out of fear, then I feel like I'm going backwards. But if I take an action feeling the fear, but I still take that action, that actually is moving forwards. And that is so what's the word? Counterintuitive. It literally is counterintuitive. Because our base instinct is to survive. So if we have two actions, two choices, and one choice ends up meaning we face all this fear, so we go through emotional distress in order to do the choice, and the other one is we don't face anything because we're not facing that fear, it's like our nervous system's going to be like, well, no, we're going to do the one that keeps us safe. Why would we do something that causes us pain, right? Even lifting a weight, if you use that like mentality, it's like, well, no, that's going to hurt, that's going to be uncomfortable. That's going to make me sore. Why would I do that, So the subconscious doesn't want us to grow. It wants us to stay safe. And remember, I think of it like not comfort zone, but familiarity zone. But it takes a lot more energy. But at the end of the day, it's more fulfilling. Anytime I'm actually like, well, maybe I'll just lay in bed all day. It's like, I don't actually want to do that, I just want to feel safe. That's honestly the bottom line for me. So, including working through the feelings and letting the feelings, letting them happen in an appropriate, way. I'm talking about like by myself. And it's almost like I feel like we're digging, and it's like we like spring a leak or something. So as you're about to do something, and again, it doesn't really matter what the title of the task is. It might not sound hard to someone else. It might not sound impressive to someone else. But the fact is if as you think about doing that, or you go to take a step and you lose your breath and you start, your body starts reacting, that means that there's something there. So I guess what I'm saying is, as I'm creating a new normal for myself, a new familiarity zone, I need to recognize that and accept that things are going to temporarily be harder because I'm paving a new path constantly. And another interesting thought experiment is when you're feeling an urge for something, like say to contact someone that your wise mind knows is not a good idea, right? Not actually good for you. What I do often is I will pause and I will say, okay, so let's play this out. Let's pretend. You contact this person, so now you get that immediate kind of hit of maybe feeling a little bit connected, but let's keep playing it out, Is this the person you actually would choose, and all of that? It's like, no, actually I wouldn't want that, right? So it's just super fascinating to me. Yeah, it just feels like kind of a new ground is forming for me. And it's like new roots or maybe roots for the first time are being planted. And the big message I got last night was, let go. So that being said, I'm doing some work tonight, some trauma work tonight, because like right now my shoulders really hurt, my back really hurts. And I know that that's trapped emotion. And I'm going to do what I can to naturally relax that so that I can not only go to sleep, but sleep well, hopefully, like be kind to my body, be attentive to my body for the first time. Now, is any of this pain absolutely unbearable at this point? No, right? But I'm honestly trying to teach my nervous system that we do not have to get really sick and in unbelievable amounts of pain in order to listen to it, So, anyway, I know this one's long, but I'm just speaking from my heart, as always. And the facts are, it was another kind of complicated day, but I don't regret anything. And I could have not done the stuff I did and just zoned out. I could have. But I didn't want to do that. So really, I face more fears today. So I'm really proud of myself. So I love you. Remember, you matter. You are the sky. So you were here yesterday. You're here today. You'll be here tomorrow. So whatever weather happens today, tomorrow's a new day. Okay. Love you guys.